good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here.
Hey everybody, it's Chiarenza with Women Successful Living, and you are listening to another episode of our Soulful Self-Care Conversations show, previously known as Conversations with Pearl. So if you're one of our regular listeners, you're like going, "What's happening?" or you're new, welcome back and welcome to the show if you're new. And I am really excited about some of the changes that we're doing here. We really want to bring conversations together with our amazing guests that we have, which I'm going to introduce our guests today, that are going to make you really think deep down in your soul, what are you doing today to show up for yourself? What are you doing to be that hero that you are? How are you learning to become stronger, happier, empowered, radiant, and that original self that you're meant to be in this world, so that you can not only show up for yourself, but be present for whether it's your family, your kids, your job, your business, whatever is important in your life. And so I hope these conversations that you join us today lead you to do some inter-reflection, give you some steps to start making sure that you show up first for yourself, because I want you to start stepping into the hero that you are. And so I would love to introduce my guest today to you. And her name is Dr. Martine Canal. She is a self-care strategist, best-selling author, and a nurse with over 25 years of experience. She empowers women over 40 to reduce stress, maintain well-being, and live a balanced, fulfilling our lives through proven self-care strategies. She's the CEO of Self-Care Genius, a podcaster, and an avid traveler. So we have lots to talk about today, but I want to just say welcome to the show, Dr. Martine.
Well, I am so blessed to be here with you, Pearl. So I was looking to our conversation because we have so much value to give out to this world. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I love, I'm looking at your background, and the one thing that captures my mind is me coaching, like me, right? Put me first. And it's all about living that best life. And that's truly what happens. And, for myself, like putting myself first as a overcoming people pleasing addict, seeing that word me and then living my best life. If you met me probably about almost 10 years ago, I would have been like going, Lee, what? Like, how do I do that? Right. So I'm so glad we're going to have these conversations. And so for our listeners who are regular listeners, we're going to do something that we always do to start off the show. And for our new listeners, I want you to think about this question I'm about to ask Dr. Martine. I want you to really think about where you were when you were little. So Dr. Martine, one of the things that I love to always start off the show with, because I truly believe like our journey is preset, like whoever you believe in, whether it's God, like myself, a higher being, whatever that is for you spiritually. I truly believe that we come into this world, our roadmap is done. Like our roadmap is planned out, but how we step onto that roadmap, how we get to the destination we want to get to is in our control. And sometimes we divert. And sometimes when we do that, we come back to what it truly was. So I want to take, Dr. Martine, all of us back, yourself and those that are listening, to when you were a little girl and when that younger self was thinking about, what do I want to do when I grow up? Or teachers, our parents, somebody would ask you, what are you going to be when you grow up? I would love to know, what was that for you, and how does it show up, or how does it correlate to what you're doing today? So I always like to give the example. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to be the example. For me, growing up, I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. And, I didn't have the path. I didn't have the tools, the right guidance counselors to lead me to doing that path. And so I, moved out of my parents' house at 17 and a half years old, right out of high school. I was working full time, but after I met my husband, and my husband and I have been together almost 40 years now, when I met him, I started on this journey about who do I want to be? And I always wanted to be that teacher, but we started my family, had the kids, all that stuff, after trying for 10 years. So I stepped into these titles that I was wearing. I stepped into the mom, the wife, the PTA volunteer, all these titles that led me down to people pleasing, but I was never happy. And once I started realizing I needed to sage those thoughts, that I had to please everybody else. I got over the guilt of thinking that I don't like them, thinking that I'm selfish. All those thoughts that I thought people were thinking of me because I started saying no. I started down the original path I was supposed to be, and that's coaching. That's teaching other women what I was learning. Because as I was doing that, I was just in the health and wellness field. But as I started doing this work on myself, I realized there's so many women, especially, that don't show up for self first. And so that's what led me to becoming a certified life coach, becoming certified in my positive intelligence coaching we do, and speaking on it and doing my retreats that I do. And so today I can say, yes, I'm showing up as what I want to be when I was younger. I am that teacher. I'm just not teaching elementary kids, but when I look back, I'm 60 years young, Dr. Martine. I think some of my students would have been my elementary students. Some of the clients I coached probably would have coached them in elementary school if I had done that back then. But tell us, for you, how does it correlate for you? What did little girl Dr. Martine want to be, and what is she grown up to be today? How does that correlate today?
Well, just like you said, we have this path that we don't know that we start way back when. When I was a little girl, my mother was my role model, and she was a nurse. So I wanted to be a nurse. So I remember drawing pictures at school. They ask us to draw what you want to be. So that's what I would draw. Because my mom, she was a very strong, powerful woman. Every day she would dress up all these nice clothes. She didn't have to wear uniform. She was so beautiful. So I wanted to emulate her. So I wanted to be like my mom. But then fast forward many years later, when I was a teenager, then this horrible event happened to my mom where she suffered a massive stroke. And when she did that, so I became a caregiver overnight. So now remember, I wanted to be a nurse. So with all the events that happened at that time and all the challenges that I had to go through, then I did become a nurse, not because I wanted to be like my mom, but out of necessity, I had to not only grow up really quickly because my support system wasn't there anymore. So I had to fend for myself and make a living. So by becoming a nurse, I graduated nursing. I was 21. So I was able to get into the workforce and support myself and also help my mom by learning the techniques and the skills, to help her as someone who was paralyzed on one side of the body. So I needed to know how to take care of her. And now fast forward many years later, when I was in my 40s. So I forgot to mention my mom, when she had her stroke, her paralyzing stroke, she was in her early 40s. And now here I was in my 40s and going down the same path that she did, because she was not taking care of herself, Pearl. She was not taking care of herself. That's why she suffered a stroke. If she would have listened to her body and take care of herself like she was taking care of others as a nurse, she could have, avoided all of that. But now here I was in my 40s going down the same path. I was overworking, stressed out, overwhelmed, overweight, and not taking care of myself. And one day I had a big headache, and this fear came upon me that what happened to her would happen to me. So that was my aha moment where I said, you know what? No, this is not going to happen to me. I do not want to live that way. So that's when I went into that epiphany just gave me the will to change, the will to go another path. I wanted to be in control of my path. And once I was able to do it for me, then my purpose just came in front of me. And I said, you know what? I want to help others like me, like my mom, live their best life. So that's when I started coaching, so that I can get it to a grander scale.
There's so much there. Like, you're right. Like our parents, there's so much that our parents are our role model. And then at such a young age, you have to become this caregiver, right? You're stepping into this caregiver role. And, a teenager is not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to create that spot.
I
When
was
I look
16.
back from right, and that's sort of where those people pleasing stuff can show up for ourselves too. Because I know for me, somebody asked me like, where can you identify in your childhood that people pleasing showed up for you? And for me, it was because my dad was in the service, my mom was working two jobs, or not two jobs, my mom was working full time and taking care of us. I was the one home after school to watch my brother and sister. So it's like I had to do that. I needed to do that. If I can't, I'm letting mom down, all those things. But I'm thinking like watching you going, here's this teen becoming this caregiver, like you said, like literally overnight. And
Yes,
then, like you said, you fast forward and we become what our environment has shown us, right? We forget that sometimes we do forget that, oh my gosh, because my mom wasn't listening to her body, this is why I'm her caregiver. And here I am, because life can get so busy. Life can become this
exactly.
hurricane, right? And you're just like
Exactly.
survival mode. I got to achieve this. I got to get home, do this for this person. Like all those tendencies come in that we forget. And it takes something or some sort of event that says, whoa, hello, Dr. Martine, wait a minute, let me bring you back in the check here a second, and we have to do that. And we're talking today about having techniques to be in our present life. And so at that point you weren't in your present life, you were in that I'm a caregiver mode. I got to make an income, I got to be able to provide and survive, right? And so as you started to realize, as that moment came and said, oh, let's check ourselves here. Let's get healthier. Let's make some better choices. And you did what, like, and coaching, like I know for me, what came from coaching was that like I said, realizing that I was this people pleaser, but also it was my clients I was helping during my health and wellness, just coaching time, because they started saying to me, I was coaching with a program that was very strict. You couldn't have fruit. You couldn't have carbs, all this, no desserts. And people would come in and they wouldn't, they would deviate off the plan. And the person that they would see that owned the business they said they felt like they were going to their parents and got in trouble. Well, if they got on my calendar, I'd be like, okay, so tell me about why did you choose that? What was going on that made you decide to take that cupcake? They would look at me going, well, that's not the kind of questions I get asked in the room next door to you. And I'm like, well, I need to know the emotion. I need to understand so I can help you when that emotion comes up. So that led to them having conversation with me going, would you talk to my friend, because her mindset is way off and she doesn't need to lose weight, but she just needs somebody you're so good about, like, help me work out my thoughts. I'm like, okay. So I started having many, 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 many cups of tea. And I was like, okay, God, what am I doing? Because this is free and I need to make money. And so that's where my business came from. So for me, that was sort of the aha and then the people pleasing part. So as you started transitioning into this coaching realm, what were some of the things that you had to do to work on yourself? Because we're talking about our mindset, talking about, being present in our life. What were some of the things that you had to do, Dr. Martine, to start showing up and being present in your life so that you could start helping and teaching others?
Well, the first thing I had to do, Pearl, was to ask myself tough questions. And the number one, as an overachiever, you always want to keep going and keep going. And even in your career, you reach the ceiling and you say, okay, what else can you do? So I even enrolled myself to medical school. That's what I was doing. I was doing all these things. But then I asked myself, I said, what do I want? Exactly what do I want? Do I want all these degrees, all these certificates, and then what? Because every time I I accomplish something, then I'm like, and then what? I said, what are you doing this for? So that was one question. And then I had, just like you're talking about emotion, I had to explore my emotions fully, because you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. Was I trying to prove to my parents that I can achieve? Who am I doing this for? So once I was in the mindset that, what I wanted to do for me, that's when I was able to change. And then I had to journal and I had to be true to myself. I had to reconnect with that inner child. What did Martine want? What did I want to do? I had to examine my belief systems. So I had to take an inner dive into myself so that I can shift and lose everything that didn't serve me anymore. Like medical school, I quit. I quit that like right away. I was like done. That semester, I was done because what did I want to do in 5 years? What did I want to do in 10 years? So I was able to pick up, for example, travel. I wanted to travel. So I traveled the world. After I left, I traveled the world. And I promised myself that it's all about me being mindful of everything that I did from that point on. And I wanted to put myself first. That was first and foremost. This is not what I was doing back then. And from then on, once I knew what I really wanted, I wanted to help people. That was always in my mindset many, many, many years ago. But then I said, you know what? I want to prevent women from going through what I went through because it was a very hard life. And also I wanted to make sure that women live their best life every single day. Because once, I wanted, when I look back, that I said, well, you know what? I'm so proud of what I did. If I could help one person at a time to prevent them from having a stroke, prevent them from having a heart attack, because I knew the data, I knew the science, I knew how I could help them. It's just a matter of being able to share it on a broader scale. So I did it for myself. So I was able to get out there and just follow the system, follow the process.
Yeah, you created that. What I wrote down is you kind of created I call it you stepped into your learned to step in that Shiro self. That's what I call it. Like you created that roadmap of where you wanted to show up for your life. I thought it was really cool. Like you said, that inner child, like inner child is so important because there's so many things that happen to us as a child that we carry forward if we don't work on it. And that's why, like, I love working, I have 2 boys and, our youngest one just got married in October. Our oldest one, he passed 2 years ago in a tragic car accident, but he has a beautiful girlfriend he left behind and she had a little girl already. And so I'm always talking to them about, what you say to your kids is so important because it can shape their future and we don't realize it. And they would like, oh, I would give examples of like, oh yeah, I can see how that shows up for me today. You're right. And so having that, that recognizing that inner child, what does she really want? Like, were you like quitting med school? It's like, what am I doing this? This doesn't bring me joy, right? So I'm out of here. I'm going to go travel. That's what brings me joy. I'm going to go figure out how to do what I want to do and travel and make it work for me, and I think that's so important because that's part of exploring the emotion. Like you were saying, it's like how I love doing joy lists with my clients. Like, what's the things that bring you joy? What's the thing that makes your heart sing? And when they'll go like, oh, I'll tell them I want 10 of them, right? When I start coaching with them, like, oh, I got 10. I go, oh, no, you don't. You don't have 10 because it's going to take you 6 weeks to give me 10. They're thinking, what? Are you crazy? 6 weeks? I'm like, I want to know not only like, why does it bring you joy, but what about it brings you joy? And then when you give me that answer, I want to know, well, what about that answer gives you joy, right? And they're like, oh, I got to go through all that. I'm like, we're going to go through all that together, right? And so I love that you talk about reconnecting with the inner child, journaling. I'm a big journal. I love to journal and release my emotions. I think it's just so powerful. And then,
with that, Pearl, you'll be able to grow.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
it's all about continuously growing.
Yeah.
And once you're in touch with your feelings and your emotions and your core values and your beliefs and all of that, then you'll be able to grow as a person.
Yeah.
And you'll be more confident. You have even more discipline with yourself. You'll know what's good versus what you want versus not what doesn't serve you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, 100%. I love that. I think for me, like, we are talking about these techniques to be present in your life, and you started those techniques. You started, and you're helping your clients do that today. You're helping them to, find the things that, because we have to be present. Because like you and I talked about this before, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring to us, and so if we're not doing those things today, we may never get to them tomorrow. And like, it's like, what kind of legacy are you leaving behind? I'm looking behind your shoulder, and the book you have, like Becoming You, Radiant Living, like those are so powerful words together. So, we have to like, what are you, if you're listening to us today and any of this is resonating with you, I want you to write some of this notes down and keep notes for yourself. Go back and journal on it as well, because it's what are you doing to live that radiant life? Like, what are you doing to become you? Talk to us about your books behind you, Dr. Martine.
Yeah, so Becoming You, it's a compilation of 18 women that shows our struggle and how we were able to go through these challenges to become the person that we are today, the person that we want to be today. So that is a very powerful book. And then from there, then I wrote Radiant Living, how to sustain with self-care to be the best version of yourself, to live your best life, because you have to be physically, mentally, socially, even financially. I talk about that in the book. I'm not a financial planner, but I talk about how you have to be comfortable with your finances, and you have to be able to take a deep dive, because that can give you a tremendous amount of stress if you don't take care of your finances, right? And your relationship, very, very important, because as a human being, you're not living alone. So you have to be able to set boundaries and to be able to leave the person behind that is always draining you, for example. Right. So I give example in the books. I have exercise in the books so that you can really put yourself at the forefront, so that you, when you look back in your older years, say that I lived my best life. No regrets.
Yeah, I love that you guys, like, I love that a group of people got together and wrote this Becoming You. That's so powerful. I love when people do books together and, create this powerful message that says, and that it's not just you. Like, it goes to show you're not alone in any of this. So you're not the first one to do with this. And trust me, you're not going to be the last one to do this, but
No,
it's your choice
same
when
thing.
yeah. It's your choice of when you're going to step into becoming you, like becoming that Shira that we're both talking about here today. So when you have a client that starts to come working with you, what are some of the things that we talked about, like, exploring their emotions, making changes. What are things you can do with journaling and things like that? What are some of the things that you see that maybe people struggle with? I know we talk about being the self-care strategist, right? So what kind of strategies do you help them put together as, we start doubting, or like we start, people often, the first of the year is here, right? We create this vision, right? I'm going to create a goal. I'm going to lose 10 pounds or whatever these thoughts are, right? That we put in our heads. And so, but we don't create a strategy. We don't sit down and go, how am I going to get to where I want to get to? Right. Oftentimes people go, I want to lose weight. So I want to lose 20 pounds in a month. That's unrealistic if you're going to do it the right way. Right. It's just not going to happen. Or, I'm doing no exercise right now. I'm going to exercise 5 days a week. That's unrealistic. Let's just talk about that. And so strategies wise, I always say to my clients, well, maybe, if you go back and you think about the being present in your life, maybe you say, I'm going to pick 2 days a week this week that I'm going to go exercise. And if I only get 1 day in, I've done well. Like, I'm okay with that. Right. Or, I'm going to choose to have healthy choices at least 3 days this week in my meals. And you know what? If I get 2 done, I've done one more than I did yesterday, right? So what are some of the strategies that you help your clients with when they're struggling with their self-care, when they're struggling believing that they should become themselves, that they should live their best life? What are some of the things you help them with that?
Well, first of all, we have to assess what their present situation is. Okay. So if you are like 20 pounds overweight, or whatever goal that you set yourself for, you have to know where you start. And from then, we can reverse engineer where you want to be. And also, I really believe that starting small is the way to go, because this is how you'll be able to be consistent. And of course, with accountability, you'll be able to achieve the goal that you want. So starting small and being consistent. And then also, I always believe that evaluating your progress on a short period amount of time is the key. So your goal, if you have a big goal of losing, you said 20 pounds, then we have to break it down. We have to see, let's say you say, a month, it's not going to happen unless you really, if you go for a gastric bypass, maybe because you're really cutting your calorie intake to the bare minimum. And if you're exercising, maybe. But for a regular person like you and I, we have to be realistic. And then also we have to look at the whole picture, meaning you look at your life. What are you doing? Are you working full-time, part-time? It all has to intertwine. You have to be able to integrate that into your life and make it work. Because if you decide that you want to work out 1 hour a day, every day, and you work 12-hour shift as a nurse, when you're done your shift, you're going to be tired. You're not going to go work out for an hour. So which days are you off that you can integrate your exercise or meditation or swimming, I don't know, or journaling? If you want to journal every day because you think that by meditating it's going to help you with being mindful, then you have to see when in your day it's going to work, and then you have to plan. Because once you did the assessment, you know where you are, your situation, then you can plan. Because if you do not know where you are, how are you gonna plan for anything? Because this is gonna be just wishful thinking.
It's so true. Like you having a great plan, because when you don't, you're just setting yourself up for failure. And the thing is like, to also understand we can't do these things alone. Like, whether you get an accountability partner to the gym, or you get a health coach or a life coach like you and I are here today, it's really, really important. And I like what you said, start small. Like I put a big highlight next to that. Like really start small, because you can't expect to accomplish everything overnight. Things don't happen overnight. Everything has its journey planned out, and you have to follow that journey and be part of the journey. And so when we don't, that's when the plan fails, right? Because we think, oh, I'm going to get it all done. And,
Wow.
You just can't. You're setting yourself up for failure. But if you can say, I'm going to look at what's the full picture that I want, and what are some of the steps I can take, what kind of strategies get put in place to lead myself up to that. It's
Right.
like if you're listening to us and you're a leadership role, right? And you're working at an office and you're working with a team, and you've got this goal, like, or even if you're, I call CEO mom, like you've got a goal for your family to, like, Dr. Martine likes to go travel, right? Let's just take travel. Like you've got to go, I'm going to go on this big trip with my family, right? We have to start somewhere. So you have to think about, I'm at that trip now with my family, but how did I get there? And sometimes, you may not be a great planner for the airline ticket. So then what do you have to do? You have to find that person it is. So maybe it's a travel agent. You have to find the people that can help you, because when you get in the mindset, you think you can do everything, you're not going to get everything done. You might accomplish everything, but it's not going to be the way you want it to be. It's not going to be as successful as you want it to be. So if you're a leader with a team, maybe you've got this goal that they've given you or you have for your team, and you think you can do it all, and you'll just give the team the pizzas that they know. But maybe Dr. Martine, maybe like, Jamie over there, she does something that you guys need to accomplish. She does that really well. Why don't you go ask her? Because guess what happens? A, you're getting help, and that's going to help get you to the goal you have. But B, the biggest part is you're going to uplift Jamie, because she's like, wow, they've got belief in me that I can do this. And that's going to make you look even better as a leader. When we think we have to do everything because I've got this goal and my team, we have to get it done. If we don't look as a team, but really, to be present in that goal, you have to look at, where do I need help? Where can I plug up the holes that I can't do great? I do this really, really well, but this part I'm like, I not so well. Find that help. Find that person that can help you. It's so, so important.
Absolutely. I had
Yeah.
to put myself in the environment, surrounded myself with people that I know would motivate me, would support me, would tell me how to do things. Because
Right.
when I had my epiphany, I was in my little bubble, and that's why I was crumbling down. And if I didn't stop myself, a crisis would have happened. And guess what? I would be doomed. So you have to get out of that bubble, surround yourself with mind like that, mind like people, and then just thrive. You'll thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's why I created, during COVID, I saw this need of, like, I kept seeing women, like, they're I called it, I need a Calgon take me away moment, but I can't leave my house, because they were having to be teachers. They were having to be, on the job parenting 24 hours 7. Then their spouses were home with them. They just like were like, oh my gosh, I can't catch a break. So I decided to do this 30-day self-care challenge, and it led into what I call my community, which is a Shiro League. And so we get together still today from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern every Sunday, just for community support. Just like what you said, like having like-minded people around us that, I still struggle with self-care. I still allow myself to let my kids take over me. Right? How can we keep each other accountable? Somebody asked me, because I have a mastermind that I do on personal development. And they're like, how's it different? I'm like, well, the personal development is more about developing who you want to be, like developing that individual person. The community, the Shiro League, is really about having people together to uplift you, cheer you on, help you when you're feeling low. I am in the
Right.
mastermind. I'm going to push you. I'm going to, help you like dive into overcoming people pleasing. Stop feeling like you need to be a high achiever, those kind of things. And when we can do that, then we can start stepping into our Shiro self, as I call it. So that leads me to Dr. Martine. I'm having this conversation is so much fun. Our time is flying by. Tell the listeners, like, I always like to know, like, when was that Shiro moment? And I think you touched on it a little bit already, but when was that moment you realized that if I don't start showing up stronger, happier, and more empowered to do stuff for myself, so that I can live that radiant life and be the original person I want to be, this is not going to go well for me. Would you say that it was when you had that headache and you realized you don't want to be with, like, your mom?
Yes. And actually that day, I can remember like it was yesterday, my boss, it was right after COVID. COVID time was very stressful. And I was working overtime, as I still work a lot, but now it's more integrated with self-care, with myself first. But she told me to stay home. And I wasn't happy because that was affecting my pockets, because I wanted to bring more and more and more money. But that day I realized that I was overworked, stressed out, and the headache was just pounding. I was able that day to do a body scan. I was like, oh my God, look at me. What am I doing? And that fear just came upon me. You know what? I felt, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to I have a stroke. I'm going to have a stroke out any moment. And I was alone in the house, and that what happened to my mom would happen to me. And I would have to depend on my children. I wouldn't be able to travel anymore because I would be paralyzed somehow. It was the worst feeling, the worst, worst, worst feeling. So that's when I decided that no, this is not going to happen to me, because I'm going to do something about it. And then I had that mindset shift right there and there. I said, okay, what can I eliminate in my life? And then what do I want?
Yeah. And for those that are listening, those are the moments when you have those moments, those are the moments you need to sit down, put yourself in check, and ask for help. Don't do it by yourself. Ask for help. If you get to that moment, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this could be it. It's time to say no to something and learn that no is a complete sentence. And you can say it as happy as you say yes, and start doing things to show up for yourself. Like, like Dr. Martin, you talk about travel. I think travel is one of my favorite self-care things. I love it.
Love it.
I love it so, so much. Tell us, what's one of your favorite places you traveled to?
I went to Southeast Asia, and that was just such a beautiful, calming trip. I was able to meditate. The environment was beautiful. I practiced self-care over there. Like, I remember going to those mud baths and then being sitting in like a waterfall, like very intense, powerful waterfall. I felt like I was just eliminating all my problems. They were just leaving me, and was able to just, it was a solo travel. So it was just all about me. So when I came back, that's when COVID hit, but I felt like I was a stronger person. And then
That's amazing. Like to go so far away, soul travel to Asia. That's so beautiful. And then to do it by yourself. Oftentimes we forget to do that. I live in Florida, so I like to do staycations. I'll go to the beach. I'll go for a day or something here or there. My favorite thing is at least once a month or once every 6 weeks to get a massage. Those are some things I love to do for myself because I want to be present. I want to be present in my life, and I have to do those things for myself. And so if you're listening and you want to go travel or something, like push
Do you
yourself
know
to go
where
someplace. Yeah.
I live
Yeah.
in Florida too? So do you know where I go all the time because this is my happy place?
Where?
Disney World.
I was just going to say, now the other place I like to do is Disney World. You and I are going to have to do a trip
Because that's
together.
where dreams come true. I
It's
just go
so
there and my stress just drains out of me.
I was gonna say that's one of my I was gonna mention too. So I don't know if you remember, but it's been, gosh, let's see. My oldest would be out of high school 10 years. I think it's been about 13 years ago. They did the thing where you could go to Disney World for free on your birthday. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I did that. I actually have a picture. I can't find it. I have a picture. My girlfriend and I, we dropped our kids off at school. I'm like, it's my birthday. We're going to Disney World for the day, and I am doing all the things you do on your birthday at Disney World. So I got the stuff in my hair. I wrote a band that said it's my
Yeah.
birthday. Everywhere you went, I had so much fun. And you're right, things like that, like find the things that make you feel like a kid again. It just makes and Disney World is a happy, happy place. So we're really close to one another. We have to go to Disney World together. I decided, Dr. Martine. I love it. I think we have a mutual friend named Angel Tussey. She's always at Disney World with her kids too.
Oh
So
no, that's where she moved. And
yeah.
oh my God, when I went to her house, I was like, oh my God, I have to move. I have to move. I want to be close to Disney as well.
You're so true. It's such a happy, happy place. So tell everybody how they can reach you and also let everybody know how they can get your books. We'll make sure to put everything in the show notes so that if you're driving and you can't write it down, just grab a piece of paper and come back and watch our show notes. But let everybody know how they can reach you.
Well, they can reach me at martinecanal.com. And this is where my website, all information about me, and you can get my books there too. But I want you guys to have a free self-care assessment because I want you to know what is going on with you today, your situation. And that's when you can move forward. So you can go to selfcaregenius.com. It's selfcaregenius.com and take that first step because it's all about you living your best life, all about us living our best lives. That's period.
It's so true. It truly is about you and about living your best life. And I want to thank you so much for coming on. Now, I did let Dr. Martine know that before we let her go, we have to do our cards, our Better Questions, Better Life cards. And so I'm going to shuffle the cards and Dr. Martine's going to tell me when to stop. And we are going to ask her to answer the cards she pulls. So here we go. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right. Your card says, what would it be like if it was easy?
If it was easy, I don't think I would like it because then I wouldn't be able to grow. Because for me, growing is part of me. It's always been part of me. And sometimes being challenged is what I like for me to grow as a person. So that's is how I keep continuing. I don't want an easy life. No.
I love that answer. That's such a great answer because what fun is it if everything was easy? What fun is it if I wasn't challenged? What fun is it if I didn't have, trust me, if I could rewind a clock and bring my son back, that's one thing I would say I would do it in a heartbeat. But I also know it wouldn't be the life that I was supposed to live because it wouldn't be what the plan was, and
when you travel, when you travel, it's not easy because there are challenges, but then that's how you grow as a person.
Yeah. So as we travel through this life, as we've been talking here today, and we learn to be present in our life and learn to be that it's really truly about living your best life, as we've been talking here today, I just want to remind and thank everybody for joining us. I want you to click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe below and share us out to your friend. If you're listening, make sure you grab a girlfriend and say, go listen to this episode. It was really great. I'm going to go travel, learn how to be myself. And I'm going to go to Disney World because it's all about being me. And Disney, I want you to pay us some money for that. But I just want to remind everybody that we come into this world, we've got a plan laid out, but sometimes we don't want to open up the oyster, as I like to call, of our life. And as you do that, though, and you do the hard work and you don't let life, all the hard stuff keep you back, and understand that life's not easy, you are going to find your inner Shiro and your inner pearl. So I hope you guys had a great time with us today, and go find your inner pearl of greatness. Hey, everybody, wasn't that not fun? Oh my gosh, I just told Dr. Martine how fast the time flew by. I just want to remind you guys that we do have to be present in our life. You know, we talk about the different steps to becoming stronger, happier, empowered, radiant, that original self, stepping into that Shiro self that you are. And one of the things that's part of it is identifying what brings you joy. You know, we kind of talked about that in a few times today, but also, when was the last time you actually sat down and did a joy list? When was the last time you sat down and identified what makes you happy and how you're showing up presently with that joy list? So I'm going to give you a challenge. And that is, I want you to write down 3 things that bring you joy. But when you write down what they are, I want you to write down, why does it bring you joy? And then I want you to ask yourself, what about that why truly brings you joy? Because at the end of the day, like, I worked with a hairdresser one time, and she's like, I love cutting hair. It just makes me happy. I'm like, okay, that's great. But you know, why should somebody come sit in your chair to get their hair cut when there's so many people that cut hair? And as we work through it about what she's saying, you know, people smile when they come, and, you know, their hair color, they look prettier. What it really boiled down to this hairdresser, Laura, she's listening, hi, Laura, was that she recognized that when people walk in her door and sit in her chair, sometimes you go into your hairdresser's chair and you have had a really rough day. Some tough things have happened. Maybe like me, you had a loss in your life, and you just need those hour to hour and a half quiet time of just somebody taking care of you, somebody doing the act of self-care on you. And that by the time that Laura was finished cutting somebody's hair and coloring their hair and having conversation with them, because trust me, we tell our hairdresser everything, that they're actually able to leave what they came with into her space at that chair that they sat in, and leave feeling prettier, leave feeling a little happier, and leave feeling like they had some of their self-care taken care of. So do me a favor. I want you to write down 3 things that bring you joy. I want you to ask yourself why, and I want you to keep asking yourself why they bring you joy until you can't answer that question anymore. And then what I would love for you to do is, in the comments below, if you're watching us on YouTube, put those 3 things that bring you joy, share them with us. And I want you to start making a commitment to work on one of them for the next 30 days. And if it's an area you struggle with, you're not sure how to start, I would love to offer you just a 30-minute session with me. It's our mini coaching session. All you have to do is go to wsliving.com/Shiro and grab some time with us. Come join us in our community and be part of us just for a little bit while you work on that joy list. I hope you guys go out, and I hope you become the Shiro and start stepping into that stronger, happier, empowered, radiant, and original self that you are. Have a great day, and thank you for listening.
All clean. Why'd it take